policies.
Compared to American democracy, George, do you think the independence in third world countries is rather provisional, where the political masters swallow up its growth?
I don't think it's provisional. I think it's evolutionary. We are where we are after 200 years of evolution. The relationship between our government and its people is different today than it was 100 years ago in the 19th century. And the public today, with greater access to information, is much more demanding of its government than it was even 50 or 60 years ago. So, we are a standard for the world, absolutely. But in evaluating third world democracies, we really have to look at what stage of that evolutionary process they're in. The examples of the countries in India, for example, is a 50 to 60 year history. And I think it's moving much more rapidly today than it was 40 or 50 years ago. It still has a ways to go. There are far stronger cultural clashes within Indian society than there are within American society. We're far more homogeneous. So there are lots of different tensions, and that's why it takes an evolutionary process. I look at Eastern Europe and the former Soviet republics. We've got different processes in play there. The Czech Republic is very far advanced in its march towards democracy. They're fairly well evolved. It's a small country. It's easy to capture all the elements of that country. Poland has made tremendous progress. Ukraine has far greater tensions within it. It's not there yet. We've got 15 years of democracy. They've gone through 3 presidential elections. At least now the political process is much cleaner than it was 5, 6 years ago. It's almost up to Western standards. But there are still an awful lot of political pressures in play, disproportionate allocation of wealth, so you have money controlling a lot of the outcomes still today. And the people are not yet in control, although they have expressed their will. We saw them on the street, and that's at least a sign to the rest of the world looking in that, yeah, there's a nation there, there are people there that understand democracy, they want to be in charge, and so we can then from the outside put additional pressures to help that evolution.
Holly, is it a strength of American democracy that public pressure works? You get rid of figures that become a baggage for the political masters, and if we accept the theory of evolution as George describes in democracies, then is India's judiciary too far behind, where perpetrators of genocide are still walking in the national capital after 30 years? Almost.
Well, absolutely. I do see the strength in American democracy in the fact that the people do throw out those whom they've seen as, having let them down. And as far as India goes, the problem with India is you're still dealing with a lot of poverty, a lot of illiteracy, and a lot of the manipulation of the masses that used to go on under dictatorship. Just because you have an institutional democracy over there doesn't mean it's functioning perfectly. The good thing is they've got a democracy. The bad thing is it's not really working the way it ought to. And as far as the U.S. goes, there are times when democracy over here, you kind of wonder about it. However, the people will ultimately decide, and that is what I find the strength of U.S. democracy.